Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kalon Hooks, and today I'm here with Steve Fiorello. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing great, Kalon. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. So, Steve, why don't you start off by telling the audience, a little bit about yourself and, what kind of work do you do with Turner Sports?
Yeah, I'm a VP coordinating director with Turner Sports. I'm also a director for Inside the NBA, and my day to day is directing. But I also manage a group of directors and associate directors for all our live sports programming at Turner Sports, whether it's NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, all kind of all the production and the live side roll up under me.
Great. So you're working behind the scenes with Shaquille O'Neal and Kenny the Jet Smith and EJ.
That's correct. Yes, all of those
That's
guys.
that's very cool. I know a lot of people watching this, someday are gonna hope like, man, I want to be the person that's gonna work behind the scenes with those guys
You got a
because
second? I got a picture for you. Hold on.
oh, go ahead. Definitely go ahead.
So that's me, our producer Tim Kiley, and Charles Barkley. This is us being inducted into the Broadcast Hall of Fame. So really big honor of ours, um, and one of the more prouder moments in my career. It was really special.
Hey, that's huge. So since you brought up, can you tell us a little bit about that? How did you get to that point in your career? All the hard work that you put in, and how did it feel receipt being inducted to that?
Yeah, uh, I think one of the biggest things that I learned working at Turner and working on that inside the NBA specifically was, how when you get a group of passionate people um, from every aspect of the business, whether it's a marketing person, whether it's a production assistant, whether it's a researcher, producer, director, talent. Um, when you get people in a room who are passionate and willing to present their ideas, and not only get an opportunity to present them, but for other people to listen and to expand on all those ideas, it really creates a really special work environment. And I think part of the success of that show is just that, is just the ability to collaborate, the ability to get different perspectives, different views, just a diverse group of people that communicate and participate in that show allow it to be as successful as it is. For me personally, it's been a long journey. I started at ESPN, worked there for about 9 years of my career, learned a lot at ESPN. I started there right out of school and got the job at Turner in 2000. Charles and I started in the same year, and it's been a long journey, but what I learned is just that, is like allowing people to have an opinion that may not necessarily be comfortable to speak their mind or be comfortable to have an opinion, because maybe they don't have a lot of experience in production. And then taking that and then actually kind of adapting it, fine tuning it, and then letting it be a part of the show. And that's something that I really learned early on. Uh, and that's kind of the culture and the philosophy. So yeah, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of patience. There's a lot of learning that went along through the course of the 20 years that I've been at Turner. But that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. But I really feel like the success of that show specifically is due to that collaboration.
Definitely. And one thing that you did say that stood out to me was, passion. Within, this industry, you won't excel unless you have the passion to love what you do. You have to truly love what you do. So kind of talk about that group that you guys work with, within inside the NBA. Because when I turn my TV on every Thursday night and I see Shaq and the Fool, those guys not only do those guys, have fun on the set, but even within, the production, the video editing, you can definitely tell that those guys love what they do. So can you kind of talk about, that collaboration and that relationship that you have with your team?
Yeah, I mean it's really easy when everybody kind of is knows each other outside of work, and yeah, you're right. The passion runs reigns true purely, and you can see it on the air, right? You can see it come through, um, I think what attributes to that is just the fact that everybody is working together and everybody's on the same team. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's genuine. It's true. It's, when the conversations that you all see from viewer at home, I promise you, those are the same conversations we're having in the green room without the cameras rolling. The same conversations we're having in the control room. You know, you all don't see this at home, but there's we call it an IFB in Charles, Shaq, Kenny, and EJ's ear. And what we during the middle of the show, as they're having a conversation, we in the control room can communicate to those guys, and we're a part of the conversation sitting in the control room while we're on the air. So if Chuck is talking to Shaq about something, I'll get in Charles's ear and I'll crack wise at Chuck about something that he said to Shaq, and he hears me say it, and it's all happening in the middle of the show. So I can't describe the passion in the sense of how it impacts the show. I will say that everybody is invested in it, and it's at every level. Like I said, I think what makes it work so well is that in front of the camera, behind the camera, we're all like one family, and the conversations that you see on air are the conversations we're having in the green room and without the cameras rolling.
Definitely. I know a lot of people my age specifically, they aspire to be, on air talent and to be, in front of the lens, but little do a lot of people know that a lot of the work that's happening, what we see, we don't see. It's everything's behind the scenes. So can you also, kind of elaborate on that, that you don't have to get a on air talent job, but also just get something, within production, because that's where the real hard work is.
Yeah, it's tough being in front of the camera. I was just like you. Like when I first started out, that's where I wanted to be. I realized fairly quickly that I wasn't good at it. But two, I also knew that there was something on a creative side of me that pushed me towards, doing something behind the camera. And it was directing. I knew really early on that that's where I ultimately wanted to be. I wanted to be a director. And the contributions to the show, you see them tenfold from behind the scenes. When you got guys like Chuck and Shaq and Kenny and EJ, as a director, they make my job easy because all I really have to do, is give them some tools to react to, whether that's Kenny's green screen or the Kenny's big board, and him just running to the big board is become taken on a life of its own, and they're always racing to the big board and that. But that was something that kind of it's a tool, it's a set design element that a director is really responsible for, but it ended up becoming a tool and a part of the show, and it's created its own life. So I know that being in front of the camera was a big deal for me early on in my career. I realized how difficult it was, but I really felt like being a director, I can contribute to the shows in a fashion that really adds value to it. So look, I get it. A lot of people want to be in front of the camera, and I think that's a great place to aspire. But not everybody's like that. And I do feel like, there are certainly a lot of positions behind the camera that really have an impact on the show. The camera people to the EVS operators to the directors, the associate directors, especially on a show like ours, everybody has a voice in this show.
Definitely, definitely. You're definitely in a, leadership position. Definitely took a lot of hard work to get to where you are. And I know that you're overseeing, a lot of things that's happening within Turner Sports. Kind of talk about also, holding how it feels to hold a leadership position, all the responsibilities that you have to withhold, on a day-to-day work schedule.
Yeah, you're right. The couple things. One, look, we all, I don't really feel like I have to be perfect at my job. Look, well, nobody's perfect. And I don't feel like you have to be perfect to have success either in any facet or in any business. Um, I know there are things that I'm not good at. But what I do is I put people in positions that are better than me in those certain aspects of my responsibilities. So that's one thing that I think good leaders do. And not only just say, hey, I'm going to put this person in that position, but truly allow that person to have autonomy, to allow that person to grow, and to allow that person to make decisions with that are blanketed in what's best for the business. So that's the hard part of managing. The hard part of it is trying to find those people, that have all of those intangibles: the passion, the hardworking, the work ethic, the aspiration, the drive. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the big ticket item when you're talking about trying to manage a group. Is it's like really identifying where your weaknesses are and then putting people in position to kind of support your weaknesses. But again, I'll go back to collaboration, because ultimately that's where my management style is rooted in. Whether I'm directing a show or whether I'm managing a team of people, it's all rooted in collaboration. We always have a base kind of level where we all want to get to, like a philosophy, and it's a pretty clear philosophy from a Turner Sports perspective. Whether, and it doesn't matter what sport we're talking about or what sport we're covering, the philosophy remains the same, because that's who we are at our core. Everything falls into place, and the way we lay people out and the way we put people in position, it all accentuates that overall message.
Definitely. So I kind of want to, take another route within our conversation, because you definitely dropped a lot of great gems. So I want you to drop, some other great gems for, the audience out there, the students like such as myself that's upcoming and looking for, a career in sports. So just kind of giving off your experience, can you give us two key lessons that you have learned within your sports career?
Never be afraid to try and separate yourself from the person next to you. Figure out what that is. That was something that really helped me along in my career. Like, there'll become moments in your career and there'll be moments in your life where you're going to compete. You are going to be competing for the same job as somebody else. So, take a minute to figure out how you can separate yourself from that person. There might be a lot of things that you and that person, are equal in, but try and figure out, like, and that may require you doing things that you wouldn't normally do or aren't accustomed to doing, or may not be in your comfort zone. But yeah, when I knew when I was going through the ranks and there was an associate director position open up, there were a lot of candidates going for that position, me included. So I took it upon myself to put together a tape and presented it to the coordinating director, who was the ultimate hiring manager for that position. And that was my moment to separate from all the other associate directors or all the applicants for that associate director position. So that would be one of the things that I would say to a young person breaking in, is just like, figure out a way you can separate yourself, and be adventurous about it. Take some chances, step outside your comfort zone. And the other thing too is, like, from my perspective, being in the business as long as I have, having opportunities to work with some younger people, one of the things that I always feel is really important is someone coming to me and just asking questions, doing what Kalan is doing right now. These conversations, not being afraid to tap into somebody who's been in the business for a long time, that's been on the trajectory that you may be interested in taking on. It's in a position like that speaks volumes to me and to people that are able to do that. Not everybody's able to do that. Not everybody's able to have the courage to have a conversation with someone or that they aspire to. And I would say, figure out how to do that and don't shy away from it, because you can learn a lot from people that you aspire to.
Definitely. I know we're running out of time, so I want to ask you one last thing.
Yeah.
Want to get first, I just want to thank you, for taking time out of your day to speak to me, and drop all these gems that so many people are going to learn from and a lot of people are going to use within their career. So I definitely want to say thank you to that. But before you go, what has been the funniest thing that you've seen on inside the NBA since you've been there?
Oh my gosh. That is a tough question. You would think I would know that by now because I get asked that question a lot. Um, I would say, one of the funnier moments was, and I don't know if you remember this, Shaq was um, sitting behind the desk and he was going to race Kenny to the big board. Um, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram. You can find it if you want to search it. But he basically gets tangled up in the cables underneath the desk and he literally trips and falls.
Oh man.
And he, I mean, Shaq, I mean, he's 7 foot, whatever, and he's 300 plus pounds. And when he hit the ground, it was an impact. So, um, but that was all funny because it was it wasn't scripted. We didn't, you'd ask Shaq today and he thinks we intentionally tied his feet up into the cable so he would trip, but that wasn't the case. He legitimately got caught up in the cables by himself, fell, and it became this thing. That was the one aspect of it. But what was even funnier to me, and the most remarkable thing, is how the audience took that, created memes, and they created so much content on their own, you know, instantaneously. And we just kept running the stuff and running, like people were sending us clips and people were sending us Instagram images, and we just kept airing each one because it just blossomed to this whole thing. But that was one of the more funnier moments, and literally to the point where I'm trying to direct the show. I'm laughing so hard that I can't really even get the calls out. It was that funny. But the people that were watching the show and the way that they contributed to the show was tremendous. So that was probably one of my more funnier moments.
I could definitely say that. I was hoping that you would say that moment because every time I cut on Shaq and the Fool, that's the first thing I see in the intro is Shaq falling out of that chair.
Make sure you search it and throw it up on this thing if you get a chance, because if people haven't seen it, it's classic. And then, like I said, the more importantly, the funnier side of it is how the audience was responding and how people were coming up with the creative ways to put him in different situations. It was great. I wish I had it with me to show you.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely going to throw this onto this interview because yeah, that how could you forget that? You cannot forget that. You have to see it today. Oh man, I'm thinking it's playing over and over in my head right now. I can't. Well, look, Steve, man, again, I appreciate you for your time, man. Thank you everybody for watching. And I hope you learned a lot from this. Again, thank you, Steve.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you reaching out and taking the time. This was a real pleasure. And thanks for watching the show too. It's really an honor. Thank you.